Well, I like The Office to be a little surprising, and also the notion that we've done all this studying, all this reading, all this traveling, and somehow we would work in an empty office. I can't do it. I'm not comfortable unless there's a little bit of clutter and some old, weird-looking things. I just couldn't work in an empty office. There's the Sorcerer Tim from Monty Python, the Holy Grail. There's the Headless Horseman, and then there's a weird Merlin. I don't remember where that toy came from. And so they're just like little mythological creatures. Like there's a djinn or a Freet. There's these little rock monsters. A two-headed giant called an Etten. They were just cool. My kid liked them. I liked them. Played with them until I stole them, and then they came in here. I mean, honestly, most of this stuff is stuff that has been thrown out of my house. That my wife is like, please, can you get this out of here? Or again, toys my son had, like this. Please come here. You need to see this. Like this Minotaur. Okay, this Minotaur riding a giant elk. What was I going to give this away when my kid grew up? No. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't play with this stuff anymore. I mean, I only had a kid for the toys, honestly. To tell you the truth, just so we could start buying toys. But this is like a magical thing. I've had this for 15 years, and the batteries won't die. So it's sort of, I don't know. It's invested with the power of the eternal forest. Everybody has to have a paper mache skull. Are you kidding me? I mean, this could be used as an oracle. It is, I think, filled with plutonian ether. So, I mean, you might ask it a question. It's kind of like the Magic 8 Ball. It hasn't talked for a long time, but if it says anything interesting, I'll get back to you. But don't you just, when you're working, don't you just want to stop for a moment and pick up your paper mache skull and contemplate your mortality? I don't know what you're doing with your time, but this is what I do when the students are in my office.
Every time I order Jimmy John's, I stick the sticker on here. I rarely ever get to stop for lunch. I usually end up working through lunch. And so a lot of times I got class at 4, so at 3 I can call Jimmy John's and they'll bring me something. So I am probably first and foremost a photographer. If I fall in love with the photo, I fall in love with the moment I took it too. And so it's a good teaching tool. I can talk about depth of field or understanding depth or photographic concepts or compositional concepts just if you'll look at the example on the wall. But then I also feel it's important that our students get to see that the people who are professing things to them, that we actually know how to do what we're teaching. So that's part of it. And I love photos, and it's nice to have a little variety. If that was just a flat, blank, white wall, it would be kind of boring.
I don't know. I guess I find file cabinets kind of boring. And so I get a lot of stickers, both by going to meetings and also because I donate to charities, and when you donate to charities, they'll send you stickers and all kinds of other things. Yeah, I'm a big hockey fan, so I've collected those over the years, and back in the 90s, they were selling those sticks as puck holders, and you can see it's designed to hold a certain number of pucks, but I've exceeded that, so I've had to stack it up. And I'm a chemistry professor, but I've always loved maps. I've loved just looking at them and thinking about different places and so on. So as far as decor goes, I was our graduate program coordinator for a number of years, and so sometimes the arriving graduate students would give me gifts. I consider this to be a second personal space, and so that's why it's kind of filled with things that are either important to me or comfortable to me or what have you.
Well, I like to feel surrounded by things that make me feel relaxed and comfortable and happy. And so when I think about those things, I often think about my trips to Kenya. Kenya is known for its tapestries. This one has something to do with respecting your parents, I think, but I'm not positive. So I brought those back from Kenya. I sponsor 2 kids there, and so I go to visit them. So there's a boy, well, he's now a young man, he's 18. I started sponsoring him when he was 10, so I visited him 3 times. We have a little girl, she was about 6 and now she's about 13. And so we go to visit her, and all the people in the villages are just amazingly nice people. They make beads out of paper. They make things like a mobile with bicycle wheels made out of crushed bottle caps.
My field is 20th century African American history, sports, and culture. So I've tried to collect a few items over the years that sort of relate to those interests, and that includes some black music. I have a poster of sort of a famous from Art Kane in 1958, but an image of jazz artists in Harlem. There's a Harlem Globetrotters program there as well on the wall. I enjoy the space, I enjoy the windows. I like being in an older building. I think history departments sort of should be in older buildings. And so even though we don't get air conditioning, and even though the heat might go in and out sometimes, I think it's still nice to be sort of centrally located by the student center and in an older building. That's nice for a history department, I think. And one of the benefits of that is we tend to sort of fly under the radar and get larger offices in terms of space.
You know, I like my workstation fairly clean. If you look at, if you peeked in some of the offices, we all have varying degrees of organization. There's some that are like really tidy, nothing extra. This is pretty fluffy for me right now. This is at the maximum. And the flowers I don't normally have, although they're very pretty. Music, obviously, and listening to music is really an important part of what we do. And before Spotify and iTunes and all that, we had LPs, and so we had to have all the equipment. It even has a cassette player, which we obviously don't use much anymore.
I know a guy that can actually build me an Iron Man suit for a fairly reasonable price, which is about the cost of a small used car. The shield is also custom from the first Avenger, but the belt is actually it's a relic from World War II. As much as I love the comics, and as much as I love Harry Potter, and as much as I love pop culture, I really, really love the stuff that underpins that, the history, the real history behind it. I mean, I'm not so much a collector as it just reminds me of my youth. It reminds me of when I was a kid. It's something I do with my kids. We play with them. I have 2 little girls. We got to embrace our pop culture stuff as much as we do our hardcore, high literary stuff.